Hello, I'm Alicia Davis,
And I'm Stacy Watson.
and we are partners and owners of Transformative Leadership Strategies. And, Stace, as coaches, we of course talk to a lot of people, executive directors, leadership teams, managers. And we are hearing, of course, so much right now that people are exhausted.
Well,
We are
yeah, and
done with COVID, right?
absolutely. And doesn't it make sense? I
Of
think we all
course.
sort of got to the end of 2020 and we're like, whew, we made it through 2020,
Right.
And then we come into 2021, and in some ways it feels very much the same. And we know that vaccines are on the horizon and hope springs eternal. And yet, right,
And
we
yet,
are tired and
that's right.
exhausted and
That's right.
maybe overwhelmed and maybe feeling a little depleted. So that's kind of what we're talking about this week, right?
Well, we are, and we had an organization that asked us to really come up with some ideas about how to help their teams be more resilient. And of course, we've also been hearing these amazing stories of individual and teams
Oh,
adapting to everything that has happened, right? And yet, like you
absolutely.
said, it still continues. So yeah, we actually wanted to talk about resilience in two parts. And the first part is what we're calling resilience from the inside out, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about next week about, or the next time, about resilience from the outside in, like our networks and teams and support systems. So today we want to talk about ourselves, right?
Yeah, it all starts with ourselves, and that's the only thing we have any control over, to be perfectly honest. Certainly, we
That's right.
don't have any control over this pandemic, particularly.
Right.
And it is important that we recognize how we can really support ourselves and build our ability to be resilient. So,
Yes.
when we think about our internal resilience, sort of that inside resilience that we bring to something, we really go to, because we love resources and looking into other,
Yes.
people and places that are thinking about the things that we're thinking about. And you introduced me to an organization, HeartMath, which
Hmm.
really has some interesting things to say about resilience, right?
Well, they do, and they study the neuroscience and the really the capacity of the brain and how it relates to how we feel and the rhythm, literally the rhythm and coherence of our heart. And what I love about the way they define resilience is that they talk about it as capacity, and it's the
Mm,
capacity to adapt in really difficult, stressful, challenging situations, right? But that idea of capacity and adaptation really makes a difference because we can think about capacity in lots of different ways. And like you said, as holistic beings, right, we have mental capacity, we have emotional capacity, we have physical capacity, we have spiritual capacity. And literally, what can we be doing, even if it's little tiny things, to make sure that we are still doing what we need to do for ourselves to literally get up and out of bed and do whatever we got to do for the day?
Well, absolutely. And, if we all just think back to, a year ago or 15 months ago, and before we really knew what was coming, and think about the way we were doing things then and the way that we're doing them now, adaptation is everywhere. I mean,
Right,
one of the leaders I was talking to said, I never want to use the word pivot again. And that is
right.
what we've done, right? We've been adapting, pivoting in every way, shape, or form. And what I like about HeartMath's definition is that it really talks about how we have a capacity to adapt.
That's
So as
right.
we continue to need to adapt and continue to need to be able to be nimble and innovative and think about ways that we can continue doing what we're doing in different approaches, all of it, we need capacity for that, right? And that is really how resilience can support us. And so when we're thinking about capacity and the ability to adapt, thinking about very specific concrete ways that we can build this resilience capacity is really a helpful place to start.
That's exactly right. And in our email to folks, we're going to have one of what we call our experience sheets that just take you through a process, just a few steps of how to notice or even consider what's one or two activities that I can do for any of those aspects of myself. So we hope that you find it helpful. And if you're watching this on YouTube, certainly you can email us info@tlstransforms.com. And we'd be happy to send you the info or the experience sheet. And, certainly also love to hear comments about how useful it was. So feel free to
Yeah,
reach
and
out to
or
us at
any
any
way,
point.
and any ways that you're building your capacity, any ideas or any strategies that have been really effective, because I know we are inspired as we're talking to leaders and delivering webinars to hear the various ways, talk about innovative, the various
That's
ways that
right.
people are really supporting themselves right now.
That's exactly right. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you
Yeah.
soon. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.